there are very few funky, cool poses, which if you go back to the original, one part of the appeal was this design sense that you find in Japanese manga and anime, where the actual posing of the character, or the angle of the character, or the angle of the panel speaks as much as the story, or says as much as the story itself, and is part of the attraction there. Another anecdote connected to what June said, and also what Melissa was saying about the different ethnic groups getting involved. When I was at the Tokyo Comics Convention, New York Comic Convention last year, they had a booth set up for an anime title called Afro Samurai.
Yeah!
Some of you may have heard of Afro Samurai. It is really one of the few examples of a joint U.S.-Japanese anime production. The original manga was created by a Japanese artist, Okazaki-san, who created the original Afro Samurai. It was then picked up by a studio in California, and Samuel L. Jackson saw the pilot and contacted the Japanese studio and said, "I am Afro Samurai." That's it. So he signed on to play the character, to voice the character of Afro Samurai. Incidentally, Afro Samurai, as you probably guessed, is an African-American samurai in feudal Japan, with a Zippo lighter, no less. And the music for Afro Samurai was written and performed by the RZA, who is a hip-hop giant, a hip-hop legend from the group Wu-Tang Clan. He founded Wu-Tang Clan. I think they're from Staten Island, actually, originally, Wu-Tang Clan. So it's an extraordinary, not only is it a transcultural production, but it's also, you might say, a transracial or biracial production. And when I was at New York Comic Convention last year, they had a booth for Afro Samurai. And Okazaki-san, Takashi Okazaki, who goes by the name Bob, was sitting at this booth to sign posters of Afro Samurai. And the line snaked around and round the booth, and I would say 70% of the folks online were African American. And they were waiting to have their posters signed by Takashi Okazaki, the creator of Afro Samurai. Takashi doesn't speak very much English, so you had this encounter where you had African American fans going up to Takashi and telling him how much they loved Afro Samurai, how cool it was, and he was just nodding along, saying, "Arigato, arigato, arigato, thank you very much, thank you, arigato," and signing his autograph on these posters. So, to me, it was just a wonderful sign of how the media from Japan, these art forms have reached across not only national and cultural borders, but also ethnic and racial borders. Standing in the old Kinokuniya last year, I was by the manga section. I heard people speaking Spanish, I heard people speaking French, and of course English, all referring to these Japanese titles. So the titles came out with a slightly different accent each time. But it's quite an extraordinary, I think, event that's occurred. Finally, I think I'd like to ask the panel a little bit about comics that are not from Japan. Maybe not just comics, but illustrations, art from outside of Japan that may have influenced your own creative work. It could be an American comic book, it could be an artist you're inspired by, it could be a film, anything. But I'd like to get the artists talking a little bit about their individual aesthetics. So, Melissa.
Growing up, I was into a lot of American cartoons, a lot of Disney cartoons, Warner Brothers cartoons. I grew up with that, and I was very much in love with that. As I got older, I believe they aired X-Men on TV, the cartoon series, and my dad introduced me to American comics. So I got into American comics, and he would buy me comics every week, and he would buy me a Mad magazine, so I learned a lot of black and white comic storytelling and illustration from Mad magazine. And then I had gotten into manga and anime in high school, and then it was kind of back and forth for me. It was like one phase to another, and even now I illustrate graphic novels or whatever I'm doing, it's very anime